Sweeteners. Agave. Organic manufacturers use low heat and no chemicals, conventional methods involving enzymes, chemicals, and heat to convert agumil into agave syrup. Coconut sugar is made from the nectar of coconut palm flower and not the flesh of the coconut. The nutrient-rich juice is evaporated and dried into powder. To make coconut powdered sugar, as in an icing sugar, mix together 1 cup of coconut sugar and 1 tablespoon of tapioca flour or arrowroot powder. Blend in a high-powered blender or a food processor or a coffee grinder. Wait a few minutes and then put into an airtight sealed container and store at room temperature. Cane sugar. Fibrous stalks are crushed, producing juice which is clarified and concentrated through heating and evaporation to produce a powdered sweetener. Organic sugar is grown with no herbicides or pesticides used in cultivation. The cane is green cut, natural lime is used in the process, and bone char is prohibited as a decolorant. No chemical bleaching or decolorizing. Conventional sugar is made from GMO beet sugar. Brown sugar is not to be confused with the naturally unrefined brown colored sugars. It is white sugar with some of the molasses added back in after processing. Icing sugar or powdered sugar is confectioner sugar, finely ground sugarcane. 3% cornstarch is blended in to prevent clumping. It is a high-risk GMO product. It is highly refined and as nutrient-void as white sugar. Evaporated cane juice is produced from milled sugar cane through a single crystallization process. It is not liquid, but crystal form. It is tan in color and has molasses flavor. The minimal processed, full-flavored sweetener does not go through the final stages of purification, blending, coloring, or whitening. Demra, Muscovado, Raperda, also known as Barbados, Terminato, also known as sugar in the raw, are specialty raw sugars. Date sugar, made from the fruit of palm date trees. Dried dates are pulverized into powder. Be careful baking as the crystals do not dissolve. Fruit is the sweetest and fleshy product of a tree or other plant. Raw fruit, dried fruit, fruit sauces effectively sweeten a product. Apple, apricot, banana, berries, dates, fig, mango, peach, pear, pineapple, and raisins are all great choices. Grain malts and syrups, including oat syrup malt, brown rice syrup malt, barley syrup malt, corn malt syrup. Grain malts or syrups are unrefined sweeteners produced by adding a small amount of the sprouted green back to cooking grain. This process activates the enzymes that are required to modify the grain starches into sugar. Malts are then strained and cooked, becoming a golden syrup with a butterscotch flavor. Organic malt ensures the enzymes are corn and non-GMO. Grain syrups tend to be less sweet than table sugar, contains trace amounts of vitamins and minerals, but is not considered a significant source of any nutrients. Because malted syrup is primarily complex sugars, it is relatively slow to digest and does not result in a rapid fluctuation in blood sugar. Honey, pasteurized, is the substance made when the nectar from the plants are gathered and stored in the honeycomb by honeybees. Each bee will make on average half a teaspoon of honey in its lifetime. The honeybee collects nectar from flowers in its mouth. Enzymes in the bee's saliva cause a chemical reaction that turns the nectar into honey, which is deposited into the walls of the hive, and the texture and flavor of the honey depends on the forage of the honeybees. It's not considered vegan. Organic honey ensures that forage crops were non-GMO. Heating honey to pasteurize destroys and inhibits many of the naturally occurring healthful compounds, such as enzymes and nutrients. Raw, unpasteurized honey has not been heated or filtered. Not considered vegan. Organic honey ensures that the forage crops were non-GMO. Honey gets its sweetness from the monosaccharides, fructose, and glucose. Raw honey is a natural source of minerals such as calcium, iron, potassium, as well as several B vitamins. Raw honey may contain dormant endospores of the bacteria botulinum, which can be dangerous to infants. It should be avoided by children younger than 1 year old and breastfeeding mothers. Lucuma powder is made from whole Peruvian lucuma fruit that has been dried at low temperatures and milled into a fine powder. Monk fruit, also known as luohan, is cultivated in China. Contains trace amounts of vitamins and minerals. It is 300 times sweeter than sugar. It is low glycemic. Maple syrup and crystals is made from the sap of the sugar from black maple trees. A hole is drilled into the tree and a tap inserted to allow the sap to flow. The liquid obtained is mostly water and must be boiled down to produce the syrup. Maple crystals are powdered sweetener made by removing the water from maple syrup. Contains vitamins, minerals, and is very high in sucrose. Stevia is a herb that has been used by indigenous people for hundreds of years as a sweetener and a medicine. Stevia extract powder is mixed with maltodextrin and is best avoided. Maltodextrin is typically made from corn, which is a high GMO risk. Stevia leaves got their sweet taste from natural compounds. It contains 0 sugar, 0 calories, and 0 macronutrients. Stevia leaf is extraordinarily sweet, 30 times sweeter than sugar, and has minimal calories. Unlike sugar, it doesn't trigger a rise in blood sugar, so you won't experience a sudden increase in insulin levels. Because insulin levels and blood sugar are not affected, you won't experience a burst of energy followed by fatigue and cravings. It isn't toxic and can be used to sweeten drinks and used in baking. Yacon syrup is extracted from the tuberous roots of the yacon plant, endogenous to the Andes Mountains. The tube is ground down to extract the juice, then heated to reduce the moisture content. It is an excellent source of prebiotic, which feeds friendly bacteria of the gut in addition to containing inulin fiber, high in antioxidants and potassium, and has a low glycemic index. Fructose is the primary sugar in fruit. However, commercial fruit is not extracted from fruit, but typically derived from cane sugar, sugar beets, or corn. It is 2 times sweeter than sucrose. Fructose is often added to processed foods and drinks for palatability and taste enhancements, or for browning or caramelizing baked goods. It is a high GMO risk. Although low on the glycemic index, fructose is processed by the digestive system much like a fat and can contribute to insulin resistance, obesity, elevated blood pressure, triglycerides, and LDL levels, and it depletes vitamins and minerals in the body. Glucose dextrose is a monosaccharide, a simple sugar, often produced through enzymatic hydrolysis of starches such as corn, rice, wheat, or cassava. Dextrose is derived from corn used to sweeten beverages, cereals, granola, or commercially baked goods. It is a high GMO risk. Although glucose is naturally occurring in fruit, vegetables, and low amounts in grains, beans, and vegetables, the commercial use of glucose is a highly refined, processed food ingredient. It can contribute to obesity, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and cancer. High fructose corn syrup, also known as HFCS or glucose-fructose. Corn syrup has undergone enzymatic processing to convert some of its glucose into fructose to produce added desired sweetness. Because of its low price and high sweetening power, it is commonly used in processed foods. Golden syrup, also known as pancake syrup or table syrup, contains sucrose and inverted sugar. Sucrose broken down into its 2 component sugars, glucose and fructose. It is highly refined, contributing to obesity, diabetes, tooth decay, and other health concerns. Maltose is the disaccharide produced when amylase breaks down starch. It is found in germinating seeds such as barley, and they break down their starches stores to use for food. It is also produced when glucose is caramelized. Found in beverages, beer, cereal, pastas, and potatoes. It works best with flour and used in bread making. It is less sweet than sugar and used to extend shelf life. It's high on the glycemic index. Too much can contribute to obesity, diabetes, tooth decay, and other health concerns. Polysugars: xylitol, maltitol, erythritol, sorbitol, mannitol have slightly bitter aftertastes. These monosaccharide polys, sugar alcohols, are derived from fruit and vegetables, often used in sugar-free chewing gum, mints, hard candies, and chocolates. They are produced by the hydrogenation obtained from starch. It is high GMO risk. Sugar alcohols are not digested in the same way as sugar. They are a low calorie and low glycemic. Excessive use can have a laxative effect, and the use of sugar alcohols is not recommended for people with IBS and other gastrointestinal conditions. Overconsumption may increase retinal neuropathy in those with hyperglycemia and poorly controlled diabetes. Artificial sweeteners: sulfamine K, 200 times sweeter than sucrose. Aspartame, 200 times sweeter. Saccharin, 300 times sweeter. And sucralose, 300 to 1,000 times sweeter. Majority of it is not broken down by the body, so it is considered non-caloric. Some diets encourage the use of artificial sweeteners and products sweetened with them. Consuming artificial sweeteners will keep you craving sweetness. You'll never be able to stop your carbohydrate cravings. Worse, artificial sweeteners create the same insulin surge as sugar. Artificial sweeteners signal your taste buds, translating into the brain nutrition has arrived. When the artificial sweetener reaches a small intestine, the receptors find no nutrition and sends a message back to the brain saying, "We've been tricked, there's no nutrition here." The part of your brain that triggers satiety signals to keep eating to help process all this non-food and keep the body functioning. For this reason, many people who constantly drink diet sodas are overweight and always hungry. Knowing that artificial sweeteners are toxic to the liver, how overwhelmed do you think the liver is? Does it have the ability to work properly? If weight loss or avoiding sweets has always been a problem for you, then take particular notice of how much artificial sweetener you've been ingesting. It just may be the culprit. Many people experience dramatic weight and health changes just by quitting diet soda. Even if you don't intentionally use artificial sweeteners, you must read labels. Almost every diet or sugar-free product on the market has added artificial sweetener, as do some children's snacks and most flavored waters. Read ingredient lists and avoid all products that contain saccharin, sweet and low, aspartame, a potentially carcinogenic NutraSweet, and sucralose, a harmful chlorocarbon splenda. Refined sugars, especially HFCS, high fructose corn syrup, messes up hormones and kills white blood cells. Avoid all refined sweeteners such as sugar, dextrose, glucose, high fructose corn syrup, and fruit juices. Use natural sweeteners in moderation, such as raw honey, maple syrup, maple sugar, date sugar, dehydrated cane sugar, coconut sugar, and natural stevia powder. Sugar suppresses the immune system, inhibits mineral absorption that contributes to an imbalance of bacteria in the gut, and too many more negative health effects. Raisins are dried grapes, and grapes tend to be one of the most highly pesticide-contaminated produce crops. A danger with conventional raisins is that they are gassed with sulfur dioxide during the drying process to preserve color. Organic raisins will be sulfur-free. Desiccated coconut has been cleaned and sterilized in chlorinated water, then dried in huge ovens. Temperatures of 170 to 180 Fahrenheit or 76 to 82 degrees Celsius. Coconut sold in grocery stores is made from this desiccated coconut by soaking it in corn syrup, propylene glycol, and sodium metabusulfite to preserve it. The best shredded coconut comes from coconut meat that is dried at low temperatures below 118 degrees Fahrenheit